This comes from our Bible friends, Daniel and his 3 friends. It was noontime in the city of Jerusalem. Daniel and his 3 special friends were hurrying home to lunch when suddenly the trumpet sounded. Tai, 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 shrilled the trumpet. It was the noontime call to prayer. 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, a priest came out on the temple porch and blew a ram's horn trumpet. Tai, 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 it's time for prayers. Daniel turned about face toward the temple. His friends turned about face toward the temple. All the people of Jerusalem stopped whatever they were doing and faced toward the temple. With heads bowed, and they prayed to the God of heaven. At home, Daniel's mother served pulse for lunch. Pulse is good food like beans and vegetables and brown bread and berries and dates. Daniel liked pulse. Pulse would make him to grow tall. Pulse would make him grow strong. Pulse would make him get good grades in school. Daniel, his 3 friends, and all the people of Jerusalem felt safe in their city, for had the city a high stone wall around it? And were there not strong gates in the wall, with a watchtower above each gate, where watchmen kept watch day and night? If Daniel listened, he would hear the watchman call, "First watch, all is well." And later, "Second watch, all is well." And still later, "Third watch, all is well." But one day, all was not well. The watchman hurried out of the watchtower, blew a warning blast on his trumpet, and shouted, "An enemy approaches!" Quickly the gates were shut and barred. Men mounted the city walls, and boys climbed the rooftops. Far, far away, so far away that they looked like little creeping, crawling bugs, came the dreaded army, the feared army of Babylon. Closer, 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 the army came. The army of Babylon pitched their camp near Jerusalem. The soldiers built great battering ram machines, and they pushed them up beside the wall. Crash, crash, crash. All day long, the battering rams beat and battered the walls of Jerusalem. Crash, crash, crash. Finally, after many days, a part of the high stone wall gave way. The army of Babylon marched into Jerusalem. Some of the soldiers climbed the hill to the temple. They took away the temple's golden vessels, as the king of Babylon had commanded them to do. Some soldiers stood guard, while other soldiers took men and boys as prisoners. They took Daniel and his 3 friends. The army marched the prisoners toward Babylon. Soldiers on camels led the way. Then came the prisoners chained together. Next, the donkeys bearing the golden vessels, and more soldiers. For days and days, the procession marched across the hot, sandy desert. Daniel's sandals were worn out. His friends' sandals were worn out. The hot sand burned their feet. They were thirsty. They were tired. But on and on they had to march until they came to Babylon. The king of Babylon sat on his royal throne while soldiers paraded the prisoners before him. Said the king to the captain of the army, "Choose boys from among the prisoners, goodly boys. Give them food from my table to eat, and give them of my wine to drink. They shall go to school for 3 years to learn the wisdom of Babylon." Daniel and his 3 friends were chosen. Prince Melzar was given charge over all of the boys. That evening, Daniel and his friends talked together. "We cannot eat the king's food," said Daniel. "It has been offered to idols, and besides, the king's food is not the best food for boys. Neither can we drink the king's wine. What shall we do?" the boys asked one another. Then Daniel thought of a plan. Let's ask Prince Melzar to give us pulse to eat and water to drink instead of the king's food and wine." "It's a good plan," agreed the three friends. Daniel and his three friends went to Prince Melzar and they bowed politely. Then they asked for pulse and water instead of the king's food and wine. Melzar shook his head. "No, if the king should see you looking thinner than the other boys and learn that I have only given you pulse and water, he might even cut off my head." "Oh, please try us for 10 days, begged Daniel. So Melzar agreed to give them pulse and water for 10 days. "Then we shall see," he said. Although Daniel and his friends were far, far from home, and there was no sound of the ram's horn trumpet to remind them, they did not forget to pray. Morning, noon, and night, Daniel opened his window toward the temple back in Jerusalem, and he prayed to the God of heaven. He asked God to bless the pulse and the water, and to please let it make them strong, so that Melzar might know that pulse and water were better for boys than the king's food and wine. When the 10 days had passed, Prince Melzar called all the boys before him. He looked at their faces and he felt their arms. He found that Daniel and his friends were fairer and fatter than all the other boys who ate the king's food and drank the king's wine. So, ever after, during the 3 years of school, Prince Melzar gave Daniel and his friends pulse to eat and water to drink. 1, 2, 3. 3 years went by. School was over for Daniel and his friends. They had grown taller. Had they grown wiser? The king himself would test them. Daniel and his friends, dressed in clean clothes, with hair combed and sandals polished, they stood before the king of Babylon. The king asked them question after question, and lo, the king found Daniel and his 3 friends 10 times wiser than all the wise men of Babylon.